Hi, my name is Katz, Artifact Librarian, and welcome to a new reading vlog. Today will be the first reading vlog, or the start of the first reading vlog for the Readathon Rebellion, which is a readathon hosted by Mel from the channel Lenore Reads. It's a game board, but it's free, go at your own pace, so I'm going to roll as I go, and however long it takes me is when I finish it. Technically the readathon started on September 1st officially, but I'm sorry, a little bit later. It's like September 9th in the evening, and I'm gonna do my first roll now just because that worked out a little bit better for me personally. So I'm gonna do my first roll in a second. But first I'm going to say that I am currently reading a book, so I'm gonna hope that my first prompt hits it, and that is The Prism of Indigo by Debora, Bezerra-Gonzalez. This is an ARC, that's why it hasn't covered. It's for a YA romantasy that is coming out later this month, and I'm 30% in, so just for the rest of the night I'm going to be reading this regardless of what I roll, but I wanted to roll. Also, I'm starting a job, like a new job tomorrow. It's only like a very short-term thing for a couple weeks, but that'll take up time, so I don't know how much reading I will get done in this vlog, and so I don't know how long this readathon is going to take me to finish, but I am going to go. At the board, I have this little snowman thing as I move our piece. I'm gonna roll with 2 dice to move across the board. There are these green, it's there, and then they are there. These are objectives. So the story of the readathon is that we have to, or it's a rebellion, and we have to get someone to escape prison, and so the prompts will help us do that, but we have these 4 objectives that we have to read regardless. So, and like the ideas of, say you're staying here and you're throwing 6 and you go to 6, but you've passed the green one, so you do both. But I think for my brain it is just going to be a little bit easier to just like put a stop here, so even if I throw 6, I'm just gonna land there, and then whatever extra I roll will, you know, expire, I guess, and then I'll roll again for the next move. I think that'll just work a little bit better with my brain. So that's what I'm gonna do. So I'll probably just land on objective 1. Very likely, because, you know, the odds of me rolling a 2 or a 3 are a lot lower than rolling a 4 or higher. So, but I'll just do the first roll. It's a 6. Wow, I predicted that. Oh my gosh. 2, 3. I'll end here. So the first objective, let me read to you what that means. Give me a second. So I've got it pulled up. So it says, for objective number 1, it's going to take the very best to get the silent spectre out alive and to stay away for yourself. Gather a team that you trust to help you accomplish this mission. Make sure you choose wisely. Read a book that has 2 or more points of view, and actually my current read works for that. We have points of view from Lila and Asher, who are the 2 love interests. So I'm just going to continue this, try to finish this, you know, this week. I think that is ambitious enough. So yeah, we'll see. I'll talk to you a little bit about this book because I am 30% in. So in this book, at first we sort of following like only Lila, because the first 20% or so is kind of her backstory and getting her to the position that she is in the rest of the book, where she can meet the love interest and, you know, whatever. So it basically reads kind of like a very long prologue. So I'll just tell you what happens in that. So we have Lila, who is a princess. Well, not officially, because like she doesn't have the title of a princess, but she's essentially a princess. Her father is the warlord of this place, but he treats her horribly. In this society, women are meant for one thing and one thing only, and that is making babies. So Lila doesn't want that. She wants to become a warrior, and she has grown up believing that she will be able to do that because she is the daughter of the warlord. But then her father ends up marrying her off to the prince of this other kingdom in order to, you know, form the alliance thing. And Lila is like, oh hell no, because then I'll just be trapped once again. And so she tries to escape. And then we get, so like the first 20% is kind of that, and then we get a time jump, and then like what I see it like the actual plot of the book kind of starts, which is this romance, like enemies to lovers romance plot. So I'm 30% in now. I'm enjoying the story. Like I like the characters. I'm interested in what's happening, but I just think that the narrative, like the writing and the structure of it, I am not loving that. It is a debut, and you can really tell in places like sometimes the way information is given reads not quite as experienced. And so yeah, that it's a debut, like it happens. I'm not super mad at that, but also just there are some things in here that an editor should have caught. Like sometimes I have like a full stop in a sentence in a place where it doesn't need to be there, and it becomes very confusing. And like I try to read the sentence like 2 or 3 times because I don't get it, and then I'm like, you know what, I gave up a read on, and I noticed that like the next sentence is actually just the second part of the previous sentence, and like now it suddenly makes sense, but there should not be a full stop there. Or another thing, like Lila's mother starts off as Hannah, then is suddenly called Leora, then Iris, and is now Leora again. And I'm like, there is no explanation given for why the name changes. There is no like, you know, it's like even within people's inner monologue, they like switch names. So I think it's just like the author at the point of writing it, not fully deciding yet what name to use, or like changing her mind along the way, and not like forgetting to like change the names in the part that she's already written. That is really how it feels like. It does not. So far, I don't have an indication that it is actually like in world that she has different names that she's called. So yeah, stuff like that, and I'm like, it just, there is a really great book in here, but there are these little things that just needed a little bit more polishing, if that makes sense. That is my, you know, that is how I'm feeling so far. There is some like, you know, poisoning people to, you know, like poison has always been a women's weapon. Just statistically, like, the most likely murder weapon for women is poison throughout history. And so we're playing with that, like, poisoning people. I'm not really sure how to say it, and especially not how to say it without spoiling something. But like, women poisoning people who are oppressing them in some way to be able to survive, essentially, and like save themselves. Which I really like. I think it's interesting. So I'm liking that. I'm liking the plot. I'm really interesting to see how a certain thing is gonna go. Like, basically parts of the backstory that is in the first 20% of the book before the time jump, I feel like are gonna meet up with the timeline that we're following in the rest of the book. And I'm really interested to see what that is gonna become, because I think that could be quite interesting and explosive in certain ways. So that is my thoughts on the Prism of Indigo so far. Lexi from Books with Lexi is hosting sprints tonight. Actually, I'm filming this during a sprint. So I'm gonna read more of this tonight. My goal was 50% for today. I don't think I'm gonna be able to hit that. But I'm gonna try and get as close to that as possible. So yeah, hopefully I can give you an update tomorrow. We'll see. So yeah, this is my first book for the Rebellion Readathon. I'll see you tomorrow. Hi. It is the next day. And wait, is it? No, it's not. I didn't update yesterday. It's the day after that. It's Thursday. The next day was yesterday. Wow. Time is unreal. Okay, it is Thursday. I have finished work for the day. It's fine. Like, it's not the most exciting job, but kind of fun at the same time. It's hard to explain. But yeah. I am meeting a friend tonight. There's a fair. And then there's also a free concert in the park. So we're just going to like stroll over the fair a little bit and then go see what the concert is like, because we can really find a lineup for it. We just know that there's a concert. So we're gonna see like if it's our vibe. If it is, we'll stay there. If it's not, we'll go back to the fair, or maybe just go for a drink or something. It'll be fun. But so that means that I can't read. My reading night was supposed to be yesterday, but I was so tired, I just went to bed at like 8:30. And I slept till 8:30. 12 hours straight. I guess I needed that. But so yeah, I didn't read anything of the Prism of Indigo last night. I did, however, start another book that I wasn't planning on starting. But the thing is, for the job I'm doing, I like have to look at a screen the entire time, and the font in some places is quite tiny. And for the Prism of Indigo, it's an ebook, so I have to look at a screen again, and it's like I said it's an ARC, but it's not an ebook. It's just a PDF. So like I can't make the font bigger, and it's pretty tiny as well. So like I was like, I don't want to. My eyes just don't want to do this right now. So I just randomly picked up The Comfort Book by Haig. A friend and I recently talked because we were at a bookstore and there was a book by Haig. And she was like, oh, I didn't know this book. I thought I owned literally everything by him, but I don't own this one, so if it's new. And she looked and was like, oh yeah, I really liked Matt Haig. I've read a few of his books and I liked everything I read by him. And so she was like, yeah, you should read the rest too. Here, borrow them. So she didn't have like the books on him, so she gave them me a different day, obviously. But and I have 2 books by Matt Haig that I have borrowed from her. And so I thought this was lying there. So I was like, you know what? I'll read a little bit in it. This is like a book of like a bunch of different like vignettes with just some ideas that in the introduction is like Matt Haig sometimes like wrote down some ideas for if he feels like sad or if he needs a bit of a pick me up, comfort, the comfort book. So they can just like reach for them then and just get them, and they're not groundbreaking, they're not super new or anything, but they're just like little reminders, and he put them together in this book, and that's basically what this is. And so they're like really short, brief things. And so because of that, I don't really want to read this just back to front in one go, because like I don't think I would enjoy that. I think I want to like dip in and out of it every once in a while when I feel like I can use it. And that was nice. Like, I don't think this book will be the most memorable thing I've ever read, but I think that it could be good, like, in the moment type of thing, So I did that. I read, like, on page 12, so I don't really plan on, like, going at, like, much bigger increments in this book, because I don't think, like, it's really meant to be read cover to cover. Like, in your choice, like, yeah, you can do whatever you want with this, but, like, I don't think Matt Haig necessarily had in mind for this to be read that way, and so I think that it would be best to just dip in and out of it. So I am reading this a little bit in the background, I guess. But for right now, I first need to get some groceries because I have nothing for dinner. And then I hope that it's fast enough that I can get like a chapter or 2 of the Prism of Indigo in before I have to like start making dinner. I don't even know what I want to eat today. Like, I'm not prepared, but we'll see. And then, I hope I'll get a little bit of reading done before I'm leaving to go to the fair, and I'm really excited. It's really fun. So yeah, that is my update. Bye. Hi. So a lot happened since we last spoke, which makes sense because more than a week passed. It is Sunday evening, like the week after. I wasn't here for the week, which is why I filmed, but I forgot my e-reader here. So I didn't get to continue with the Prism of Indigo. So I had to read other things, right, to get through the week. And I read quite a bit. So I still wanted like the book that I would read for the week because I knew I would finish something to count for objective number 1, so to be a multi-POV book. And I looked with the books that I had where I was at my parents' house that would work for multi-POV and that would also work for the magical readathon. And I had only one that worked for both. And that was The Mark of Athena by Riordan, which is a reread. It's the third book in the Heroes of Olympus. This is like where the series sort of becomes what it is, which I really, really like. We, like the two teams are kind of coming together, and we're starting the big quest, which I think is really interesting. Yeah, I liked it. It was funny because with my read of The Son of Neptune, I remembered that as my least favorite, and I liked it a lot more. This one, I like it slightly less than I remembered, but I still really, really enjoyed it. Yeah, I'm not sure what to say. I really like in this series that each of the team members are kind of like their strength are being used, and like they have to work together. And especially in this book, we have to work together in a way where like they're not each doing their own thing simultaneously, and that each like contributes to the bigger goal, but they're like essentially still doing the things on their own, but like they actually have to like join forces together, if that makes sense, which was a bit of a thing in this book that I really liked. I really like sort of people having to find their place in this new dynamic with new people, and sort of like how that can sometimes feel a little bit uneasy because you're used to taking up a certain role and then suddenly you can't do that anymore. And so you sort of have to like find a little bit who you are, which I think is very, very interesting. Leo is still just my heart. So yeah, I had a great time with this book. The cliffhanger at the end is great. So yeah, I'm really excited to continue my read of it. I already have the next 2 books out from the library, so I can do that. So that was my book for Objective 1. I ended up changing it. I still have to finish The Prism of Indigo. I'm not any further than it was when I last spoke because I didn't have my reader to continue it. Then I've started Stolen Lives by Malika Oufkir, which is a memoir, and I DNF'd it because 1, it was just very slow and repetitive, and 2, the tone of it really rubbed me the wrong way. I felt very like, woe is me, kind of spoiled brat type of vibes, which I just didn't like, so I DNF'd it. Then I started Phantasme by Kaylie Smith, which I'm 90 pages into, but I can't read more right now because I'm reading it. I started a book club with some offline friends, and we're reading Phantasme, but one of us is not a big reader, so we let her decide the pace, because she's like, yeah, I can't read as fast as you all. So we're doing 45 pages per week. So I read last week's pages and then this week's pages, which brings me up to 90, and now I have to wait. So it's going slowly, but I'm not fully there yet, but I'm getting there, and I think as soon as the trials will start, I'll get there. But I'll talk about that like when separate like coming week's pages, and I'll tell you my thoughts. So that's going to be very slowly, like we're planning to finish in November. So yeah, that is that. Then I read Lucky Day by Tingle, which was absolutely amazing. Really absurd, but amazing. great depiction of depression. I think it also has a whole video about like existentialism in that book, so we'll just direct you there. I'll link the video. It's a very good one. Watched it this morning. But yeah, it's really nice. I really liked sort of the philosophical, what's the meaning of everything? Is there even a meaning to everything? Do we need a meaning for everything? Type of thing, which I thought was really interesting. I really like the ending. Chekhov's gun was mentioned at the end. And just, I'm not going to spoil you what they say about it, but what they said about it was just so beautiful. And I loved it. It was great. It is weird as hell, and there's no build-up. Like, we go from 0 to 100 in chapter 2, and then after that it becomes kind of a police procedural almost, which I had a great time with, and now I want to read a police procedural kind of. So I might just like try to squeeze it in somewhere when I find the time to do it. But I'm excited about a lot of books, so I don't know. So that is Lucky Day. Intellectually, I had an amazing time. I wasn't as emotionally invested as I want to be, but yeah, intellectually, amazing book. I highly recommend it. And then today on the train, I started Empire of Storms. So I'm like 40 pages in, not very far, but I'm already having a good time. And I love these characters, and I love this plot that we have going on. So yeah, I'm thriving, but I don't have a lot to tell you. What I wanted to do is do my next roll. So I'm not gonna put Stolen Lives in here because I DNF'd it at like a quarter of the way through. So I'm not gonna like after the fact. Like if I started it and I DNF'd it at that point, I'd be fine with that. Like it's not competitive, so like the rules don't matter that much, in my opinion. But I'm not going to do it after the fact. If my next roll works for a Lucky Day, I'll just use a Lucky Day for that and then roll again to see what we get. And then hopefully I have something that Empire of Storm works for. I don't really plan to put Phantasme into the Readathon Rebellion just because it's going to take me till November to finish it. But yeah, we'll see. So let's do an extra. So here we have the board and the dice. So let's roll 3. 1, 2, 3. 8 roadblock. There is, I don't have like the cards with the prompts printed out, but there's like a document on a Google Drive where they're each numbered. So I have pieces of paper that have the number from 1 to 10 on them. So I'm just gonna pick a random one. Let's go with this one. I shuffled these before I started filming. It's number 10. So roadblock prompt number 10. Okay, so I have prompt 10 up here. So you've heard tales that on this journey you're likely to encounter all sorts of creatures. The mountains are full of worm-like creatures that can eat you in one bite. They have thousands of teeth and are said to smell like death itself. The woods have bears that are as big as a house and can split acid. Read a book featuring a monster as a character. They weren't really like monster or characters in Lucky Day, unfortunately. So that won't work. I guess Empire of Storms works for this. Because we're fighting these like creatures. So I guess that works. You know, so yeah. Okay, I'll put Empire of Storms here, which will be then for the second roll. I'm not really moving along very fast. I'm actually just gonna roll again to see what the next prompt would be, to see if I could like read 2 things at a time. Because I also still have the Prism of Indigo that I need to finish. So I'm just gonna roll one more time and see what the prompt is. Okay. So let's roll. 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 8 side quest. I'll put this back in here. I'll try to shuffle them a little with one hand. Nope. This is really hard with one hand. Let's go with this one. Number 2. Side quest number 2. Okay, side quest number 2. While your hearts are out gathering information, you can't just sit still and do nothing. It's illegal to have any maps or ways to track down the ancestors, but you know exactly where one may be hidden. Find the map of the city and the surrounding areas. Read a book with a map. Well, Lucky Day didn't have a map, I don't think. I'm pretty sure the Prism of Indigo didn't have one either. Empire of Storms has a map, but that doesn't really work. So, well, do we count? Because if I do Empire of Storms here, do we count? I don't want to spoil it, but there's one entity in Lucky Day. Like, do we count that as a character or not? Because if we do, I could potentially, like, for the second roll, put Lucky Day and then Empire of Storms now. Perhaps. But I don't know. So, yeah. I'm gonna have to think about what I'm gonna do, and I'll get back to you tomorrow, because I'm gonna do a party tonight. It's like an opening party for the new semester at uni, which starts tomorrow. So, yeah. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye. Okay, so hi, it is the next day, and I figure out what I wanted to do, because I'm gonna change things up again. So we had the first objective, which was multi-POV, and my initial plan for that was the Prism of Indigo, and I think I'm going to keep it at that. It's dual POV, it's a romantasy, so I'm going to keep it as that. Then the Mark of Athena I'm going to do as a monster, as a character, because we're fighting a lot of monsters in it, and there's also like certain other monsters that are, you know, friends as well. Like we have Tyson, who's a Cyclops, for example. So we have a lot of monsters going on in that book. So I think that is going to be the book for that. and then I can keep Empire of Storms for a book that has a map. I think I'm going to do it with that because yeah, it's a little chaotic, but if we do it that way, then we still like have it in the order that I started the books. So like I think that counts for something, right? I also have a bit of a book haul for you because, well, first book, at my university in the hallway we have this shelf, and you could just, it's free books, you can take them, it's books that I want to get rid of, and they're often like nonfiction and like just not very interesting, like dictionaries and stuff. Like I don't need your dictionary. But every once in a while there is, no, just like usually like 1 or 2 fiction books among there. J.D. Robb has like a different book by J.D. Robb every week. It's insane. But very, very rarely, but sometimes there's like actually a book that sounds interesting to me. So that was today. I took one, which is, wait, let me see what the English title was. I looked, but I don't. It is The Shape of Sneaks by Minette Walters, which is a mystery. I've been wanting to try some Minette Walters for quite a while, so I now own one. It was free, like it's not. If I like flip through, there's like some mixed media going on, which I always do enjoy. Oh, this has a map. It could have worked. No, but yeah, I'm interested. So we are in this like very fancy neighborhood in London, and 20 years ago, this Black woman was found dead at the side of the road, and people were like, oh yeah, she was just crazy and very poor, and this house she lived in like was very like in a very bad condition, and there was like a cat who was very mistreated, and it's just a traffic accident that killed her. But like, she was crazy, so it was not a big loss to society, essentially. You know, very like cold, and the fact she's Black will probably have played a role in them not caring, because racism. But then there's this one person who just doesn't believe it, and even 20 years after the fact, just like, no, I am sure that what they're telling us about this woman is not correct. I think she was murdered. I don't think she was crazy. And she's gonna try and find out. And then, you know, I guess new things are gonna, like new leads are gonna show up after 20 years now or something. I don't know. Let's give it a go. So that's one. And then I also went to the library because I had a notification that a hold had come in. Except I don't remember ever placing a hold on this book. So that's odd. I mean, I don't mind. The book's on my TBR. I want to read it. It's just I don't remember that I put it on hold. The book is Scythe by Neil Shusterman. I think, well, I'm actually pretty sure that this was because for Magical Readathon, I needed a book where, like, with a vertical spine title, so like the letters were the right way up if you have the book vertical, and this book has that. So I think that it was just like in my search for a book that could fit that, I put this on. And then I must have forgotten that I put this on hold, because I literally don't remember that. And I already, well, I do. I purchased the scroll to replace it with a different, but like I replaced it with Empire of Storms. So like if I just read this instead, like no one really cares. But yeah, I'll try and get to this at some point. Hopefully. But yeah, I'm now gonna focus on Empire of Storms because I want to be finishing series before the end of the year. So, not starting them. So I am gonna prioritize Empire of Storms and just get the scroll. But if I manage to get to this one before I need to return it, I will read it. Then, in the spirit of finishing series, I got 2 final books in series. So I got Act Her Age, Eve Brown by Talia Hibbert, book 3 in the Brown Sisters trilogy, contemporary romance series that I've been loving, and so now we're following the youngest sister, and I've heard from a lot of people that this is their favorite, so I'm really excited. So yeah, that is 1, and then 2, I have the Magdalena Codex, which is the 3rd book in the Sterke trilogy, which is a trilogy of thrillers, like Dutch thrillers, by Jeroen Winsmeijer and Jacob Slavenburg. And I've been quite enjoying them. They're not perfect, but I'm having a really great time with them. So if I read these 2, then we have 2 more series completed. And then when I was there, I saw one more book. This is like a complete cover borrow. I just saw it and I was like, yeah, I want to try that. And that is Letters from the Dead by Sam Hercombe. This is a historical, like, gothic-y, spooky mystery. It's the 2nd book in a series on the, like, library sticker on the spine. But I'm gonna assume that because it's a mystery, it's gonna be one of the series that you don't necessarily need to read in order. So yeah, I thought the cover was just very pretty. So that's why I got it. So yeah, those are the books I got. I got 4 library books and 1 free book that is a former library book because it has a sticker on the back from public library here. But like, I assume it's like no longer, like they sold it. I guess because when did this come out? It's from 2001, so it's a pretty old one, this one. So yeah. Ooh, I'm just reading now on the back that like Minette Walters is known for her whodunits, which I love a good whodunit. Whodunits are fun too, but I like a good whodunit. So yeah, I'm excited. So those are all the updates, I think. Yeah, I need to go get groceries. And then I need to read more of this freaking book because it comes out tomorrow and I'm only 30% in. I thought it was further than that, but no, I'm only 30% in. So I need to get going with it. Okay, that was that. I'll see you another time. Bye. Hello. It is Tuesday morning and I started another book last night. It wasn't necessarily for the Readathon Rebellion, but I'm also doing Amazing Readathon, and I have completed 4 out of the 7 prompts that I needed, and then I have the Prism of Indigo for one of them, Empire of Storms for one of them, and then I started my last book for it, which is Raspberry Truffle Murder by Wendy Meadows. It's a cozy mystery. It's the first book in the Maple Hills series. So there was a prompt there that you had to like roll a die, and then whatever the number was, it's like how many pages the book needed to be. I rolled a 1, so I knew that I needed something very short. My initial plan was not to read this for that. But then I'm also doing Herkiet, and for Herkiet, we have a secret prompt every single month. And for September, it had to do with crafting, so you could do one of two things. You could either listen to an audiobook while doing a craft, or you could read a book where the author does a particular craft, and that craft is also represented on the cover. So I chose that good option because the main character in this is a chocolate maker, and there's like, you know, here the chocolate truffle, and then this thing dripping down here is brown. If you have the covering color, there's like chocolate dripping down. So it works. The reward is that for every 100 pages that the book is, you get 1 week extra to read a new release. This is only 145 pages. So I won't get much. But actually the reason I'm doing it is more because I want to be able to say that I've also done all the secret prompts. Rather than that I actually want the reward this particular month. So, yeah, I'm reading this for that. I am a little over halfway through. And it is not good. It is, no one acts like a normal person. People are just jumping to conclusions for no reason. Like, there's no reason to think what they do. And, like, they happen to be right because the book needs them to be, I guess. It's so weird. Like, there is no reason for them to think what they think. Also, our main character, she's so weird. So basically, we have, our main character has this chocolate shop in this small town in Vermont. And one day, in front of her store, this person is killed by like a car in a hit and run type of thing. And our main character is like, oh my god, they're gonna think I did it because, no, sure, she's like, there's no way that like someone, this must be an outside job, but like not in a way of like, I've lived here my entire life and I just refuse to emotionally believe that someone here is capable. No, she's very new to this town. She's like, rationally, there is no way that someone who's so wholesome that they live in a cozy small town could commit a murder, so it must be an outside job. I'm like, you don't know, you have no reason to think that. It is also whatever. And then she hears that this person who was killed used to run this like local newspaper where he basically shared stories about people in this town, like dragging them through the mud essentially. And then she's like, oh my god, now people are gonna think that I did it because I used to work in a newspaper. And I'm like, girl, you didn't know this guy. People know that you had no clue who this guy was because you're new to town. The newspaper didn't exist anymore by the time you arrived. You're like pretty much the only person in town right now who doesn't have a motive. And there were people in your store the moment he got killed. So you have an alibi too. Why do you assume that everyone else would assume that the one person who has no motive and has an alibi did it? And how would that hold up in court? Like, Your Honor, she must have done it because, like, she had the same job as the victim. Guilty. Guilty as charged. Well, makes no sense. So she starts investigating. And she goes to the library to, like, look at these newspapers. And then the librarian, so she looks at them, she gets to look at, like, 2 or so. And the librarian walks in and is like, yeah, so I know what you're doing. Because, like, I can't refuse to give you the newspapers, but, like, I see, like, I know that what you're doing and why you're reading them. So I called the police guy, and he says that they have to give them back. And she's like, do you have proof that the police said that? It's like, why is that your reaction? So odd. Anyway, she gets to look at, like, one article, which is about, like, the local doctor. And then she gets a phone call. They're like, leave town or else. And she looks up the number that this call is from because people are stupid. And she's like, oh my god, it's, like, the hospital's phone number. So it must be this doctor. So she goes there and she's like, how is there no police here? Also, the librarian called the police guy. But, like, wouldn't he be too busy with this murder to pick up the phone? So, like, law enforcement is so useless here. And I'm like, first of all, why are you mad that the police didn't react to a phone call that you didn't tell them about? They have no reason to know about. Just because the one article out of many that you happen to read first is about the same person who probably did the phone call. Well, there's so many other articles that, and it's the same day that she went to the library. It's not like, whatever. And then, 2, what? With the phone call? Sure, that is how the police get the information they need to solve a murder case. By ignoring any and every phone call that could possibly give them that information. Sure. That's how that happens. And then people are just so weird. Like, people just give her so much information, and maybe this is, I guess that is kind of the thing in a cozy mystery. I don't read a ton of them. But, like, people just, like, info dump a lot on her for no reason, which is just so weird to me. Like, so weird. Especially because people think, okay, she then finds out that people think that because they knew that she worked for a newspaper, she's just after a sensational story, which makes so much more sense than what she thought. So, like, if people think that, why would they feed you information for that story? And it's like, oh, you have to be careful to not piss off, like, the town council, because, like, what if they raise my property taxes? Which I'm like, what? What? That is not how taxes work. How are they supposed to do that? How are they supposed to raise property taxes for one person? Also, if they're going to raise, they're not going to find a way to, like, raise taxes for one person just because that person pissed them off once. That makes, I don't get it. I don't get what this book is. I'm so confused right now as to what this book is. But I'm kind of enjoying hate reading it at the same time. And DNFs don't count for Magical Readathon and for her kid, so I kind of have to finish it. And I'm questioning so many things right now, but I'm not having a bad time, honestly. So, I guess I could just continue reading this and kind of laugh at it because it's so dumb. So yeah, that is my update. I haven't read anymore. I'm just thinking, because I do want to finish Magical Readathon right now, so I might, well, I definitely finished the Prism of Indigo because that actually comes out today. I did not read my on time. So I definitely want to finish that this week so that I can still, like, you know, post review in time. Or like semi in time. And then I don't know if I'll have enough time left to finish Empire of Storms, so I might just pick up a romance because they're shorter and quicker. And then that way I can complete Magical Readathon this month, and then I'll let Empire of Storms bleed into October. I think that's how I'm gonna do it. Or else, well, I have to purchase a scroll anyway in order to have Empire of Storms count, because that was like this vertical spine title thing that I didn't really want to read anything for. I could still read Scythe, like try to squeeze it in, but I don't know. I think it'll depend on how fast I finish I think I'll definitely finish this today. And then it'll depend on how fast I finish the Prism of Indigo. How much time I have left. So we'll see. I might, if it's like really not a lot left, I might have to throw in a comic really quickly at the last minute. I could do that because I have to get a scroll anyway for Empire of Storms to replace the prompt. So I can also like replace it with a different prompt. And I know there's one that's like a translated thing. So if I pick a comic, like most of the comics that I read are French comics that I read in Dutch, so that's translated. So that works. Or else like a romance. It'll depend on how much time I have left before the end of the month, because I do want to finish Magical Readathon because I'm so close. Or well, I will be so close once I finish this. So yeah, and then I'll finish Empire of Storms after that. So yeah, that is my update. Sorry for the rant about Raspberry Truffle Murder. I probably won't mark it on Goodreads because I feel kind of mean. I don't know, because also, like, I'd read something by Wendy Meadows before. And so, like, I already went in thinking I wouldn't like this. So, like, I feel kind of mean to, like, go on Goodreads. Like, my channel is small enough. I'm not ruining her career by talking about her in this vlog. Like, the 5 people who will watch this vlog probably wouldn't pick up the thing anyway. So, but I feel like I don't need to, like, not that one Goodreads review will ruin her career, but, like, it feels different. You know what I mean? I don't know. Maybe I'm not making sense. Anyway, I'm going to go because I have class in 15 minutes. So I'm going to leave for that. And then I'll talk to you once I've read more. I think I'm going to read the rest of this on my lunch break. I have 44 minutes left according to my e-reader. So then I have the evening left to read the Prism of Indigo. So yeah. I'll talk to you later. Bye. Hello. Please ignore the weird angle. It is later the same day. I've read literally one more chapter of Respectful Murder, and I needed to talk to you because this chapter, oh my gosh, it was chapter 10. I'm gonna read a little bit to you. It's not a spoiler or anything. So basically, just context, Nikki is our main character, our amateur sleuth. Lydia is someone who works with her in her chocolate shop, who helped her a little bit in the beginning of the investigation. And so what is happening is Nikki is telling Lydia a few things that she found out, some people that she talked to, and she mentioned, like, I've talked to this person. And so then Lydia answers, I know the woman. She's very nice, Lydia told Nikki. Her son has autism and lives in a facility in Boston. She told me, Nikki nodded her head. I can't imagine how tough that must be for her and her husband. It must be tough. Now getting back to Haig Daily. So, like, that was mentioned. And then we immediately switched topic. And I just know that there's two possibilities. Either it'll come back in an incredibly ableist way, or it will never be mentioned at all. And I don't know which one of those two I would dislike more. Also, I'm pretty sure we like had the conversation with Lydia, didn't we? I don't remember. Or we only have the conversation with these other people. I'm not sure. I know she talked to some people, but I don't know. I don't know if we have whatever. It's just, why? Like, this is not relevant whatsoever. And also just not how people talk. Like, maybe this is true, that this woman has an autistic son who lives in a facility in Boston. That is very possible. Why is that the first thing you mentioned about them? Weird. And also, I really don't like the way that was talked about. It just makes me a little uncomfy. Also, the end of this chapter, now that we're talking anyway, in the previous chapter, the love interest is introduced. And it's the son of the chief police dude. And Nikki's also telling Lydia about meeting him and whatever. And it's like, so Lydia told Nikki, like, I'm not sure if this is a good idea to pursue something with him, because you know how, like, people think you're just a journalist after a story? Yeah, they'll think that more. Not because, like, oh, if they think that you're a journalist after a story, it's kind of suspicious that you're dating the son of the chief police person. No, that's not the reason. No, the reason that they're gonna think that even more is because this other random rich lady in the town that was never mentioned before is also after him, and how she's gonna dislike you. And so, because this woman dislikes you, that means that you're a journalist after a story? This book makes no sense at all. It makes no sense. Okay, so it is Thursday morning. I have two updates for you. I have finished Raspberry Truffle Murder, and I was right. The autism thing was never mentioned again. And I'm just like, why was it in there? Like, why? But okay. Maybe it'll come back in the rest of the series. But I won't know that because I'm not continuing the series, and I'm not really planning to read anything by Wendy Meadows again. I'm just, all the like weird nonsensical things aside, I just think that her mysteries aren't that successful. Like, part of the draw of a mystery, for me at least, is that you as a reader get to try and solve the case alongside the character, and Wendy Meadows' books just don't allow for that. You don't get little clues throughout the book that will lead to the solution. You just get the solution. And you're just watching a character figuring things out without being able to figure things out yourself, because crucial information is only mentioned right when the actual, like, solution is revealed, which is just very frustrating to me. Like, these books are novellas, And I think that they could have been a little bit longer, and then we would have time to do those things, and they could still be relatively short books. Like, it could still be 200 pages. But that way, we just, I don't know. Like, for example, I mentioned the newspaper that would publish stories about people. Turns out it only got to publish articles on 5 people before this newspaper ended. Only 5. Why did we not talk to them? Or at least attempt to talk to them? No, we sent out another character to talk to them off page, and then at the end, just tell us the whole thing. Which is not interesting. I want to be able to piece things together based on what these people are saying. I don't want this other character to tell me what I was supposed to gather or supposed to pick up in those conversations that we didn't get to see right when the reveal was already there. Like, we could have made the book 50 pages longer, get to talk to those people, and have those things revealed to the reader a little bit earlier in the book. And I think that that would have made for a more successful mystery than what this was. I don't. It's, yeah. Also, the book is the Raspberry Truffle Murder, and part of the reason why I picked it up is because of the chocolate making, because I needed a craft. And, like, it's in it for not even 2 pages out of the entire book. And then after that, it is never mentioned again. And I'm like, I don't need a whole section of the book dedicated to that. Like, I like that the mystery was definitely at the forefront, and I do want that, but I feel like if it's a cozy mystery where part of the premise is this chocolate shop, because the main character's craft profession is usually part of the premise and part of the draw of a cozy mystery, I feel like within that genre, that should have played a slightly bigger role than it did. So I just don't think this was that good, to be quite honest. I'm gonna give it 1 star. I'm not really gonna pick up anything by Wendy Meadows again, as I said, because I've now read 2 books and disliked them both. I had similar complaints in both of them, so yeah, she's just not gonna be the author for me. And then this morning, I also read until I get up to 50% in the Prism of Indigo. We finally get sort of like what I assume will be the plot for the rest of the series going, where the titular Prism of Indigo is introduced. I'm just gonna say it's a thing we need to find. But I'm not gonna say too much more because it isn't introduced like 50% into the book, right? But we're trying to find the Prism of Indigo. We're working together to do that in like it's not quite a marriage of convenience. It's like fake dating, except they're saying that they're engaged rather than just dating. I think that says like a fake engagement. Is that a trope? And going on here, and their interaction is, I really like it because we have like they're really, really into each other, and like the attraction is there pretty much straight away. I wouldn't say it's insta love, I would say it's insta attraction. But also they they're it's kind of an enemies to lovers thing. And so they don't really want to be attracted, except our female main character is like seducing people to like steal from them for quite a while. And so she's sort of like almost telling herself that that's what she's doing, and that like, oh, this other guy is falling for it, but like they're actually both just really, really into each other. And I just think it's really, really cute. And like she is like kind of trying to kill him as well, and then he's like, we both know that you're trying to kill me, and we both know that I'm just gonna stop you, so like and I'm stronger than you, so like just stop, please, before you get hurt. And it's I love it. I really, really like it. Um we also we have these people who have different powers. Um and our love interest can look into the future, but he doesn't want this power. He doesn't like it because yeah, it doesn't really it's rarely reassuring, and I'm like, oh no. um so yeah, it's I really like it. It's interesting, and I think that it's a really fun book. Um and I think that the story could be very interesting. I'm also very interested to see in the position that our female main character is in, how it's gonna tie into part one, like the thing that kind of says a prologue. It's gonna, like come back to like I can see how it comes back together, and I'm really excited to see that. Um, so yeah, I'm having a great time. There is still like some like editing, as in like on a sentence level, that needed to happen in this book. Sometimes I'm like, but I'm really liking it. If you like Stephanie Garber's books, I recommend you pick this up because it has a very similar feel to it. Um, so yeah, I'm having a good time. I'm gonna read a little more of this tonight. And yeah, I'll talk to you when I have updates. Okay, it is Monday. Things happened over the weekend. I finished the Prism of Indigo, and it was Saturday, and I was like, oh, I wish I would have done an update on Friday because I'll probably finish this, and then I won't have updated anymore. And it was something that I wanted to mention that I thought wouldn't really be relevant anymore once I finished the book. It still kind of is. So, the magic system. We have our people have like specific like magic powers, it's one of those. And we have the love interest, Asher. He can see the future with limitations, but he can see the future. His twin brother can see the past. So if he's in a location, he can see what has happened in that particular location in the past. And then they have like a younger sister, Daphne, who can see people's auras. So we don't really get a ton of information on that. But it seems to be that at least a part of it is tied to emotions in the moment and part to like general personality and stuff. But we have this element of emotions. So we have 3 siblings who each have an ability to know things that normally they wouldn't necessarily know. Like things happen in the future, things happen in the past that you weren't there and no one told you about, and then people's emotions that may not be expressed. And so we have this past, present, future thing going on, which I thought was interesting because there's a 4th sibling, Serena, and I was like, how is she gonna fit into that, like, row? Because we don't really meet her until the second half of the book, and so I was curious, like, what is her magic going to be? And Serena wasn't featured that much, even in the second half, and I don't know what her magic is. I don't even know if she has magic. So, like, that is still a question mark, but I think, yeah, it's a little, I don't know. I'm really curious what that would be, and if, like, the past, present, future thing was intentional and Serena will sort of fit into that in a way, or if it's just, like, she's gonna have something a little bit different. But yeah, I made it to the end of that, and I am very disappointed with the ending. Like, I was really enjoying the book, okay? Like, it was very slice of life type of thing, but like not necessarily in the way that it felt overly slow or it felt like we weren't going anywhere. It just felt like we were doing a life with these characters, and I was really, really enjoying that. And then a certain plot happened, which good, I was expecting that, but I thought that in this world we have these magical clouds that are over the land always. They don't really get sunshine, they get just these magical clouds, and sometimes they have this toxic rain coming from these clouds, and so that's sort of the issue that we're working with, right? And people are trying to find a way to survive with this toxic rain, and love interest Asher is a prince, and so he is sort of wanting to find a way to get rid of these clouds forever. And so we're off to do a certain thing, and I thought that the thing we were doing, so we were starting off this plot thing, I thought that that would result in these clouds being gone, or at least result in us finding a clue as to how we can achieve that, or how we can find the thing we need to achieve that, or something like that. But no, stuff happened, and I'm not entirely sure what exactly altogether, because the ending portion as well was written very confusingly, but I'll get back to that later. I'll just finish this point first. We were off to do these things, and stuff happened, but it led to nothing. These things happened, and we ended up in a situation exactly like it was before this. So why did we do them? We achieved nothing in this book, plot-wise. And in the romance, we had this nice arc going, and we were heading somewhere, and it could have been, it was leading to stuff, And then suddenly we did a full 180. And it was like, we were building, and then just out of the blue it dropped again. And we were just, again, sort of in the situation that we were when these two characters met. And I'm like, we just spent a whole book and we achieved nothing. Lila is back in the same, or at least a similar situation than he was at the beginning of the first book. Well, not quite the beginning. But back to like earlier in the book. And everything that happened in between seemed to not have mattered. And the way Lila acted, and at the romance, it sort of would make sense to me if we had that portion from Asher's point of view, because then I would think like, oh, there was something happened during the plot thing I mentioned that we don't know what it is. And, there's something going on with Lila. But that's not the case. We get Lila's POV, and within her own POV, her motivations aren't clear. Her thoughts aren't clear. Her feelings aren't clear. While we're in her head, which is just so weird to me and so odd. And it was a multi-POV book, and yes, okay, Lila's was definitely, like, her POV was definitely used more often and got more page time than Asher's. We only very sporadically switched to Asher's. But we had Asher's POV to fall back on in those moments, and that would have created a very interesting ending that I really would want to know how it continued. But this just was weird. And then there was another thing. I told you, like, the first bit is sort of like a prologue, and then, and I was curious how things would tie again together. I thought that they would, and it wouldn't have made sense for them not to, but the way in which that happened also made little sense to me. It's as if certain people just knew things out of nowhere, and it was never explained how they knew. Whereas I think it would have made sense for them to know if it would have made sense for someone to inform them, or for them to find out a certain way. But it doesn't appear that happened. They just knew. And I find that very odd. I don't get it. So the ending I don't understand. And the thing is, half of the time, it was kind of hard to tell what was going on. It was just written in such a weird way. And, okay, I'm normally not the person to necessarily complain about spelling errors, grammar issues in books, because those can happen, and I'd rather look past that to the rest of the story. But if it gets to a point where I don't understand your sentence anymore, then we have an issue, right? Like, there were sentences that I couldn't even imagine what, like, the correct thing would be. And or like sentences that weren't technically correct, but I feel like a sentence in between was missing, so that I didn't know what the sentence meant in the specific context that we were. And it was just, I reread passages 3-4 times and still was confused, which I didn't have in the first part of the book. So I don't know what happened at the ending, but it just feels like a completely different book at the end. And I'm not, it's just immensely disappointing to me because I was quite enjoying the first bit. So yeah, that is my review for the Prism of Indigo. I had an arc for it. The book is out now, so if you want it, you can get it. I don't know, but I don't like being in this position. I don't like it because it's like an indie book. It's a debut as well. It's like I want to give it all the opportunities to find its right audience and to find people who love it, and you know, I want this author to succeed, but also I'm not gonna lie about it. I'm not gonna like pretend that I loved the ending because I did not. So yeah, I don't like being in this situation, but it happens sometimes. Anyway, that was the Prism of Indigo. That was what I read on Saturday. On Sunday, I mostly read things for uni, and I prefer to keep my uni reading and this separate. So I'm not going to talk about that. So yeah, that is the thing. I could roll again now for the Rebellion Readathon, but you know what? I'm not gonna do that. I'm just gonna say I failed it. My initial plan was to just keep going for as long as it would take, and like if it bleeds into October or even November, that was fine. That was the initial plan, but like honestly, I already have TBR Harvest in October. I don't want it anymore. Like I already have my TBR game. I already have TBR Harvest. I don't need like an extra thing to think about. So I'm just gonna say that I failed at the Readathon Rebellion and leave it at that. But so I do still have plans. I am going to let this vlog go at least for today because I have plans to start something today and I think I can finish it tonight. If so, then that is where the vlog will end. If not, I'll finish it tomorrow and then that's where the vlog will end. That way I'll just have like until the end of September that this vlog runs. But my two plans for today, first of all, continue with Phantasme. I think I mentioned it before in this video that like I'm reading it for a book club with some friends. And so this was actually the section. This was a section from last week. And then this is the section for the week now, which then nicely ends in level 2. So I think that I'll just read that. I might like split up into smaller chunks, but those are 2 sections that I need to read this week because I didn't read anything for last week. I am enjoying Phantasme. I think that the trials are gonna start in the next weekly part. And I think that that is where like I'm gonna get truly hooked on the story, because I'm getting there. We're not fully there yet, but I'm getting there. So I'm really excited for that. And then I'm going to read a very anticipated book, and that is The Killer Question by Janice Hallett, the newest book by her. I have liked everything I've read by Janice Hallett, or even loved everything I've read by Janice Hallett. I think she's an amazing writer, one of my favorite authors, so I'm really, really excited to read that. And it's mixed media, like all her books are. Murder mystery, like all her books are. It's not too long, and I think for that reason I can do it in a day, because I also have sprints tonight that I'll be hosting. So I think between reading a little bit now and then having at least a couple of hours of reading, and tonight I'll actually be able to finish it today. And then I'll say that for my reading, at least September is finished, because then if that happens, then tomorrow I'll just start my October TBR and start TBR Harvest. But yeah, that is the update. I'm gonna have lunch now because it's lunchtime, and I will talk to you once I have something else to say. Bye. Okay, so we're later the same day. I have started the killer question. I'm 11% in. I initially wasn't gonna do like an update this early. I would be more like 20 when I started this, but I didn't want to update you before sprints start tonight, and I won't be reading more because they start in half an hour. I'd hoped to be further along by now, but alas, I don't know that finishing is gonna be a realistic expectation. But you know what, I can at least get quite a ways through, hopefully. So yeah, it's a murder mystery, as all, well, they're not necessarily murders. It's a mystery book, which all Hallett's books are. And so we're following this pub, that had to close down. And so we have the grandson of the owners, who, well, that's what we start off with. We have this man messaging like production company saying, hey, I have an idea for you for a true crime documentary. I can send you all the stuff you need. And so he emails a bunch of things to his production company about his either parents or grandparents, who are the owners of this pub that is now closed. And they were really known for their pub quiz every week. And like we get like rounds and scoreboards as well in the book of that quiz, so it'll be significant probably. And also, like, you know, the title, the killer question, you know. But there's a bunch of other pubs in this town, and they have noticed this group of cheaters in their pub quiz, and there's something with them probably. There's a few other things going on, which is very interesting. I'm very curious as to where it all will lead. My brain is already like, ooh, it's gonna be relevant. Ooh, it's gonna be important. What does this mean? Oh, why is this here? Because with Hallett, everything matters. Like, everything is important. Every choice she has thought about. And it all ties back in, which I love about her. And, you know, it's a little, at this point, it's still just a little bit hard to tell exactly what is going on. Or like, you know, like how, I don't know, like we're hearing about stuff after the fact. Which, like, usually Jen's house books are like multimedia, and we only hear about things in terms of like text messages, emails, stuff like that. So we're never truly in the moment. But I feel like even more here, we hear people talk about it where they leave out certain information that they have because they live in this town, they know a bunch of background that we as readers do not. And so because of that, at this moment, I'm like I'm still trying to find my footing a little bit in the story. But I'm sure that'll be fine. Janice Hallett is always a little bit trust the process. So yeah, I think it'll end up being great. I'm gonna get ready for sprints, which starts in half an hour. I'm so tired and I don't know why. So I don't know how long it will go for. My initial plan was to go till 10, but I don't know if I'll make it till 10. So we'll see. Also, maybe I'm also hungry, so maybe if once I've eaten, that'll help because it's also almost dinner time. I'll have dinner in the first sprint. So maybe that'll help too. But yeah, that is The Killer Question by Janice Hallett. And I'm enjoying it as I expected. Okay, so I'm now a third of the way through. Please ignore people being loud outside for no reason. I got to the end of the things that were sent that would make up episode 1, so I thought that would be a good moment to update. So we are following this pub quiz, and there's this team coming in every time who are probably cheating in some way, but they can't detect how. But just the scores they're getting, it's almost impossible. And they put in like trick questions to see, like, try and discover how they're cheating, if they're, what's going on. But it's very interesting and very intriguing, and I'm really interested to know what is up with them. I have a theory, but I think my theory is going to turn out being wrong. There's like little details that I think are going to be important that, like, how is this going to play into things? I know it's just thing like knowing Janice Hallett, this thing is going to be important and I want to know. Like, I'll be curious to know how. So I'm really loving that. And then a body has now been found. And so, like, the actual murder investigation can start. So yeah, I'm really enjoying this. I only got to 33%. In sprints per hour. I'll try to get like 40 and see how late it is then, and probably by then I'll have to go to bed. But if it's still like not too late and I think I can get to 50, I might try that, but I'll probably stay at 40. But yeah, I'm really enjoying this. I'm really happy that I'm reading this. It is all that I wanted from it. Really, I really like the community aspect to it as well, which I feel like the other Janice Halletts that I've read have. Well, there have been the other books have had like groups of people sometimes who like, the examiner had these students in the art program who sort of form a unit. But like, it doesn't give small town vibes the way that this one does, and I'm really enjoying that. So I'm gonna get back to reading a little bit more, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. Okay, it is Tuesday evening. I have not yet finished the killer question, which I really, really wanted to finish tonight, but that's not gonna happen. I am fairly confident about tomorrow, though. Just with how much I read today, and then, how much I'll be able to read. Like, how much time I have tomorrow, I think I'll be able to finish it, because I'll read a little bit more today as well, so I think I'll be in a pretty good position. My theory about this quiz team still stands. And a few things have happened that I'm like, that really fits with my theory. But then at the same time, I really don't know how it would, like, practically work if it is that. So we'll see. There is a bunch of stuff that I really am intrigued to know how it will be relevant. One thing, I don't know if it's just this edition or if like all of the books have it and if it's intentional, but we have text messages and we know that they're using emoji sometimes, but the emoji are not featured in here, only like the actual like text. And I think that the emojis are going to be relevant in the end. So I'll be curious to know if it's intentional to leave them out or not. I guess we'll find out as we get further in. But that is something that, if it is just the addition, I really wish they were included. But so yeah, that is the killer question. I'll finish this vlog when I finish this book, and then start my TBR Harvest vlog. So yeah, talk to you tomorrow. Hi, we have a new angle unlocked. I got a new shelf recently. It's actually for my brother, but he got rid of it, and so he dropped it off at my place, and now it's standing here. And I thought, you know what, I can use this little section for my monthly TBR, and this way I can film with a bookshelf in frame, like all the cool booktubers. Feel very, very fancy right now. Anyway, I finished The Killer Question by Janice Hallett. I am shocked. The ending portion was very, very twisty, and I did not see any of it coming. I did not predict anything. Well, there was one thing that, like, I had a vague suspicion, like, 3 pages before it was actually revealed. So that doesn't really count, does it? So yeah, this was great. It might be my favorite Hallett book so far, but for those statements, I like to wait just a little bit so that like the initial, feeling has, like the initial wave of feelings has sort of passed, so that I can sort of compare it to it more on equal footing as the other books. But I think that this could be my favorite. It's between this one and The Mysterious Gates of the Albertan Angels. But honestly, I think this one. I really, really had a great time with this. Everything tied in together so well. The emojis ended up not being an issue, so ignore what I said about that. But so yeah, I really liked it. Yeah, this was fantastic. I really liked how everything tied in together and then sort of, you know, it kept like piling on top of each other, like, oh yeah, and it just made total sense in the end, which is what Janice Hallett does so well. She always manages to just like, I don't know, write these reveals that can still like surprise me, but then like the moment I read them, like, of course, it was there all along, you know. Like, that's what I love about Janice Hallett and why she's one of my favorite authors, especially when it comes to mysteries. I think that is the sign of a good mystery, right? That, you know, you could have guessed it, but it's also still not so obvious that you like that everyone saw it coming from a mile away. So yeah, I had an amazing time with this. And with that, I'll be ending this vlog as I mentioned. So it ended up going 2 weeks rather than one, which is fine. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. I needed to sort of get back into vlogging a little bit after being out of it for a while. But I hope you enjoyed. Let me know if you've read any of these books, what you thought of them. And I hope to see you again in the video. Bye!